All right, welcome back to Portland Paper, Modern Mondays at Guardian Games. This is Travis Cooper, and I'm hanging out
With Ian Lunger.
and we are watching. It's probably going to be a little spicy matchup here. We've got. What do we have?
We have Alder Crammon playing some Izzet Storm and Michael Caparelli playing some Rakdos Rack. We're not sure if there are 8 racks in the Rakdos Rack deck, but
There's at
there
least
is.
one.
Yes, there is the rack.
I know that Alder has the green splash for some Veil of Summers in the sideboard. So Storm is generally a critical mass type deck. You need a lot of spells and a few important ones to go off. So can have issues against decks that force a fair amount of discard here.
Yeah, provided you're not able to go through Past in Flames. I think Past in Flames is a nice way to kind of negate discard if you can make it into the kind of mid-late game as the Storm player.
Especially if you're able to keep a cost reducer around, that can make the game pretty easy.
Be interesting to see if Michael's leveraging cards like Smallpox or other cards that are going to set Alder back on the resource component. Always interesting to see people's select or preferred art for opts.
Yeah,
There's like quite a few arts at this point.
I think there's a promo one. There's a couple newer printings. There's also, the OG.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, thanks for hanging out, chat. It is Modern Monday. So if you're older right now, what are you thinking about when you see Blood Crypt, Bloodstained Mire?
I'm just like in my mind I'm like this is Jund, but no turn 1 or turn 2 play immediately. Like I'm pretty much thinking not Jund, but then I'm like, okay, this is some weird, like we're on some weird spice. Maybe somebody's trying to revive Brand or
Yeah,
something.
I was gonna say I'd have like Goryo's Vengeance on my radar.
Yeah.
A push in response to a ritual.
It's pretty good because this is going to leave Alder in a tough spot for actually trying to go off here. Looks like Alder does have a Manamorphose in hand, so we could continue the chain if we want a little bit here, but it's maybe tough sledding.
Feels really good when you can like bait that ritual spell from your opponent while holding up removal.
Yes. And I actually think Alder was definitely planning on having the mana because there was a Gifts Ungiven in hand and the Manamorphose. So Alder was thinking go up to 3 mana with the ritual and then Manamorphose up to the 4th and then get the Gifts Ungiven off. I suppose Alder could have done that in response. Like we could have seen, oh no, because the Desperate Ritual was on the stack, so there was no mana in pool.
Correct.
So
Yeah.
Alder wouldn't have been able to go ahead and Manamorphose into the gifts in response. So a very timely play by Michael to get the cost reducer off the board.
I kind of want to see like a Lightning Elemental.
Always want to see a Blighting Elemental.
That's what, if I was older, that's what I would have been afraid of. Like, oh, we've got 2 Blood Crypts. Oh, what could this mean?
Right. Yeah, the Elementals deck I've been seeing kind of running around Guardian, so could have been on the radar, though usually you see a play by turn 2 from that deck, so.
Oh, we have another cost reducer. Picked up a Baral.
So Alder's Island is one of the islands that I think originally is like invasion art. It's like Tony Scazudio, if that's how you say his last name, but I think it was reprinted in kind of whatever new frame that is.
Yeah.
8th or something. But OG Invasion, I believe.
Gotta have your basics whiteboarded if you're playing fetch lands. You go find them quicker.
Does make it, yeah, it does make it quicker. I have subscribed to that sometimes in Legacy. full art can be easier to find. Just kind of anything to cut down on the time. If you're finding yourself going to time, you can take that little edge.
We're getting gifts in response to an Inquisition? Is that maybe? Nope, we're not.
Well, IOK can't take the gifts in any
Correct.
case. But Alder has kind of a tight little package of a hand, really, with a cost reducer, Manamorphose, and the gifts.
Well, we haven't upticked Lily yet either, so. We got a Raven's Crime for Michael. I think we can get most of Alder's hand here.
If there's a Raven's Crime, then it doesn't matter what you take, really, because you're getting the whole hand by the end of turn if the Lily hasn't upticked yet.
Okay, it looks like now we're pulling the trigger on the gifts now.
Yep. Makes sense. Got to fire off the gifts. Alder, I think, needs to get it past In Flames somewhere. It's going to end up in the yard here, pretty likely, but at the very least, we've got to have the threat of being able to go off with just cards in the yard. Straight Storm, a deck where I still feel like Past In Flames is sometimes a better option than Underworld Breach, although Breach was definitely a card on a lot of people's radar for this deck.
Okay, what are our piles here? We got Empty the Warrens, got a Past in Flames, got a Manamorphose, got a Ritual. We're putting an Empty and a Manamorphose in the yard.
I do think like we've been talking about.
Okay. We gotta.
I don't actually think Past in Flames was.
Was that not a pickup?
No, I don't think Past in Flames was part of that pile, actually. All right, so Michael does manage to get the entire hand out, drop the Shrieking Affliction. So Shrieking Affliction, honorary, the rack. Let's take a look at that card.
Is there a reason why you don't get Past in Flames if you're Alder when you're making that pile? Feels like that's pretty good insurance if like things go bad.
Yeah, I am a little confused that Alder didn't go for that. It is possible that Alder's playing a build of Storm that does not include Past in Flames. Maybe is playing like an Underworld Breach build or something, but
okay.
I don't know. Otherwise, I'm kind of baffled. Alder's a very good player, so I imagine if Past in Flames was a good line to go for, we would have seen it. But Michael's in a very, very good situation here with the Shrieking Affliction and Liliana. Basically has everything needed to close this game out. Oh, somebody's saying in chat that Past in Flames is already in the yard.
Oh, there we go. Lightning Skelemental. I knew it had to be in the deck somewhere.
Yes.
Sweet.
Well, that was fun. Rakdos Rack, new kid on the block, a Guardian. Haven't really seen this played here much, but a pretty good showing for it.
Did we discard like 3 or 4 spells that one turn?
I thought it was 4 because Alder had 3 cards in hand and was forced to fire off the gifts, which gave him, essentially +1 to that. So I think it was 4 cards that Michael took out of Alder's hand that turn.
Well, so sideboards, let me pull them up here on my little pocket computer. Looks like for Michael, we have Akletus, 2 Blood Moons, 3 Leyline of the Voids, Rakdos Charm, Pillage, a couple Bantu's Last Reckonings, 2 Vampire Hex Mages, Plague Engineer, and 2 Collective Brutalities. What do you like there, Ian?
I mean, I like the Leyline of the Voids, although I am a little, again, surprised that we didn't Like I was pretty sure we didn't see a pass in flames out of Alder that game, but somebody in chat was saying there was one in the yard. Ley lines seem good.
Plague Engineer seems fine too. A lot of times the Storm decks rely more on goblins in game 2, especially if you're expecting a card like Leyline of the Void, so I feel like Plague Engineer is a kind of
Yep.
no-brainer call to bring in.
Yep.
Could see an argument for Rakdos Charm. You know, either mode there seems relevant. Exiling your opponent's
Yes.
graveyard or dealing them 1 damage for each creature they control.
Yeah, if they go for the goblins line, if you've got some damage in already, you could just Rakdos Charm for the win
I haven't
potentially.
seen the Rakdos Charm for a win probably in like 6 years. I would love to see
I
that.
would too. That would be fun.
And it looks like
I think that's pretty much all I'm into on that side. I will note chat has asked for a deck list for the Rakdos Rack deck. One of the kind of limitations we have is this is just kind of a normal Monday event that happens, so players are not required to submit deck lists. We do encourage players if they want to and if they watch the YouTube versions of these games to post their deck lists on YouTube or a way to find their deck list. So if Michael does watch this and decides to post their deck lists on YouTube, that would be a place to find it.
all right. And for Alder sideboard, we're looking at 3 Lightning Bolts, 3 Veil of Summers, 1 Dismember, 1 Abrade, 3 Aria of Flames, 2 Empty the Warrens, 1 Factor Fiction, and 1 Weather the Storm.
Veil of Summers are great.
Yeah, seems like it's at least a cantrip here. Aria Flame, are you into that card?
Yeah, I actually, oh man, it's tough in this matchup. I think you either, I mean, I think you have to hedge somewhere because I think you've got to think that Michael's bringing in some graveyard hate. So I do think bringing in like an Aria of Flame, maybe 2, is probably a good choice here.
Okay, so then you're probably on board for the empties coming in as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I like the empties. I like diversifying here if I'm on Alder's side.
I sort of like 1 Factor Fiction over 1 Gifts Ungiven as well, too.
Yes. Yeah, I like Factor Fiction better in this situation than Gives. I just think your graveyard's not going to be terribly reliable, and I think the chances of sticking your cost reducer and having it stay there are just a lot lower in this matchup. Travis and I definitely have different opinions on Veil of Summer. I will admit that I have not been playing a ton of Modern, and I've mostly just avoided the subject of Veil of Summer by playing like red prowess decks. But I guess my knowledge of it comes from Legacy, where it was also decried as being like this horrible card that's extremely problematic, and people have just kind of moved around it. And I think the Legacy metagame is fine, and we're actually seeing like a decrease in the number of Veil of Summers played.
Well, that's only because people are doing more degenerate things or having decks that do degenerate things that also play
But that's
Veil of
what
Summer.
Legacy is all about in any case. And
That's not what it's all about. Legacy is
Okay.
about lots of different things.
Sure. But degeneracy is not really something that's like, it's a part of the format.
That's very true. Yeah, I don't know. Veil of Summer, I personally feel like is really poor card design and does too many things. I was talking to a friend about like lately, they basically just like staple draw a card to every good green card, which is kind of frustrating. It feels kind of lazy in the design space for me, and it's like a pretty unfun card to play against. There's not a lot you can do about it, but do I think they'll ban it? No, I don't think they will. Do I think they should ban it? Not really. I think it's just something you're going to have to get used to playing against. It's kind of annoying. It's very powerful. It's frustrating.
It is a blowout. It's one of those blowout cards. It's very swingy.
It's
you
a
know.
blowout card that doesn't have a huge cost for playing it or putting it in your sideboard because it's a 1 mana answer to so many different things.
Yeah, I think you see the cost. The cost is bigger in a format like Legacy, where you have to play green, which is just generally an underpowered color in the format. But for these other formats like Modern, where green is actually like quite good, I do agree with you in a format like Modern, where a deck like Amulet Titan is very, very good right now. In any case, players have kept. We're going to see an IOK fired off here from Michael.
We got a remand, an opt, and a gifts, plus some lands.
And you do get, so you get to see the breeding pool if you're on Michael's side here, and I think that's something that's like really important to note is immediately, you didn't see any green cards game one. So there's got to be something in your head that's like, okay, this player is now playing green, why? So I think the Veildar is probably going off in Michael's head right now.
Well, they can't play Oko now, so it's probably Veil.
Yep.
And I don't think they're playing Once Upon a Time.
Yeah, unless they've found some way to sneak Uro into Storm. Right?
Yeah.
Maybe that's the new Storm pivot.
I guess you'd have to be pretty green heavy to do that, but
I think both Travis and I are on board. Chat says that Once Upon a Time is a good possibility of getting banned. I think we're both on board as far as probably Once Upon a Time getting banned. I would be very sad if Primetime got banned, because I think it's like part of a deck that's not too powerful, barring a number of new cards that were printed.
Oh, it looks like Pinky says modern. It wouldn't be modern without Once Upon a Time, and I don't know. I feel like it's such a new card that it's not. I wouldn't call it a traditional pillar of modern, but yeah, I don't think Primetime is going to get banned. Once Upon a Time is just like pretty egregious in the fact that it's free, and you see like if you looked at the most recent, I think, showcase results, it was just dominated by the majority of the top 32 was Amulet or Eldrazi all playing copies of Once Upon a Time.
Is that a spawning pit, Travis?
That would be sweet if it was the spawning pit.
I think that's what that is. I'm very partial to the Urza's Legacy version. Or is it Spawning Grounds? Help chat.
Chat's saying what?
Spawning Pool.
Looks like Pinky says Jund Shadow needs Once Upon a Time. Jund Shadow was a great Shadow deck a couple years ago without Once Upon a Time.
So yeah, Michael playing Spawning Pool, one of my favorite creature lands.
Ooh, I just want to pop that bubble.
It's you would, and then what happens is it regenerates. It's about as mediocre of a threat as you can get from a creature land.
You gotta Veil of Summer.
Okay.
Wrench Mine. You thought you were gonna make them discard two, but nope, they just draw one.
Such a swing. So as we saw before, Michael was just ripping Alder's hand apart, and Veil has actually just kept Alder in this game. And there's not really a whole lot Michael can do to play around Veil. You just kind of gotta jam and hope they don't have it.
Oh, we could be playing Uro right now. We got 2 green sources. There's no Uros on the sideboard, chat.
No, yeah. It's our wishful thinking. It'd be fun. Although, Uro's also pretty medium against Liliana, so. Man, if this spawning pool is actually able to get it done, I love me a spawning pool, but it is such a bad creature land. You have to invest 2 mana to turn it on, and then you have a 1/1 regenerate. So, I mean, I guess you can like toss it in front of your Liliana to keep it alive, like throw it in front of the Lily, block, regenerate.
That is a thing that you can do.
I think it's tough sledding to get there on damage with the spawning pool, but. Does Alder have second Veil of Summer?
Yeah, I wonder why Spawning Pool over like Lava Claw reaches. I'm sure there's a reason.
Yeah. Gonna cycle the Morphos, cycle another Morphos. Alder probably hoping to hit another Veil of Summer here, and not a hit, so sitting on some lands. It's not a terrible place to be. Michael has no pressure currently.
I do sort of agree with chat that I do want to see Kroxa in action.
As do I.
I'd like to see that bad boy come down.
Okay. And another, Aria of Flame comes down. Another great thing about Aria is you're playing against Rakdos here. They have no answers to this card. So once you stick the Arya, they need to get the game over with, or this card will take over and kill them. Okay, there's some pressure.
It's not nothing. I'm going to
Yeah.
take 2 on upkeep. Called shots with a Croxa there.
I mean, oh, we got a reader. So chat, we took a look at this before, but it is a
That's so cute.
cute little bubbly muck 1/1 with regenerate. But we don't have the mana up to regenerate, because if we did, we'd be playing a 6/6 like Croxa instead. Okay, Morphos.
Are we going to shoot the spawning pool?
I think you can only shoot players and planeswalkers with the Arya.
Oh.
But we will take a look at that card as well to
Oh,
confirm.
Z-Magus, thank you for the sub.
Appreciate it.
We're getting closer to that karaoke goal.
Yeah. We will do in-booth karaoke if we hit 50 subs, so.
Probably set it up at a bar, the Bar Guardian.
Yeah. So, Arya Flame.
Okay, target player or planeswalker, so no creatures.
So it can keep Lily off the board, which is really solid. I think it's definitely worth some spells, but Michael actually has the clock in the rack now, and so it does make the decision of firing off cards a lot more difficult for Alder. Croxa is also an imminent concern. There is the correct number of cards needed to escape in the yard, and Michael is really just looking for one more red source. So Michael drew another copy of the rack, but decided not to play it here. Do you think it would be worth it to kind of invest in the future of something like the rack rather than kind of taking the 1 point of damage off the spawning pool?
Oh, that's a tough call. I probably, yeah, I like casting the rack, hoping you draw like a wrench mine or something.
Yeah, I'm worried that you're not, like, the 1 damage off the spawning pool seems, it just feels so negligible. Although, admittedly, Croxa's a 6/6, and if your opponent discards a land, I believe they take 3. So maybe Michael figuring that if he can catch Alder, with just lands in hand or something, then he can finish Alder in 1 turn. If he can get Alder to 9.
You know, with the fact or fiction resolving, I'm just oh.
Weather
Wait.
the Storm seems amazing here. A little surprised to not see Alder take the pile of 3 cards, but I guess the Gifts Ungiven is essentially +1 card, so after it's cast, you're getting that extra card.
And I guess we have a lot of cards in hand here too for Alder.
Yeah, Alder's found a way to like start getting actual card advantage, and Michael doesn't have an engine. There's no Liliana or anything else, and the Arya Flame's not going to be dealt with, so there's not really any hurry for Alder to get this game over with.
Yeah, and you know, like when you're playing against the rack deck and you're actually playing out your 5th land, that's a real sign of strength.
Yes.
Usually you're just playing up to like 4 land maybe, and then sandbagging the rest for discard spells like Wrenchbind.
Right. And honestly, I think I would be a bit surprised to see Alder play any lands past this.
That's a real either super strong bluff move or smart fetching if you have a Veil of Summer in hand.
Arya ticks up.
Arya can kill very quickly.
Yes, especially if Alder's able to start a Past in Flames line with a number of rituals and Manamorphose and gifts and other things in the yard here. It could easily be just 1 turn and dead. Michael may just be dead on this untap, honestly. Rampaging Narwhals notes that Michael may have a Rakdos charm in hand, which would, I mean, that would make sense. Michael's holding up mana here, decided not to swing in with the spawning pool this last turn, so. Okay, and we see the charm fired off.
Do you have, well, the Veil? We do have the Veil. Was not a bluff.
Wait, does Veil do anything against Rakdos? Oh, it
It gives
makes
you hexproof.
Michael,
Yeah.
yes. Is Rakdos
Right? See,
charm,
that's why you don't think Veil of Summer is a problem, because you don't remember all the cool things it does. Oh, it's like your spells can't be counted when you draw a card. It's not that bad. It's like, wait a second, you get hexproof too.
ah. Yes, so the key word here is target player's graveyard. I was thinking that maybe Rakdos charm was like all opponents or something like that.
It'd be a commander staple
But
if that was the case.
that's already commander staple. It's a great one. You can get plenty of people on the with the 1 damage thing when they make like infinite of some creature that's going to attack you. Get those splinter twinners. Yep, so this game is probably over this turn. That Rakdos charm getting countered by the Veil was the game. Veil of Summer, heck of a card. We're going to game 3.
Well, being on the play is pretty big for Michael here, because hopefully you're going to get a fire off like 2, maybe even 3 hand disruption spells by turn 2. So you can really start to pick apart stuff without having to worry so much about Veil of Summer.
Yeah, and if you can nab, I really think that Aria of Flame is just such a house here, because I really do think that for Michael to win the game, you need to land some sort of engine card like Liliana, because if you're just kind of like trading cards with your opponent, eventually they're going to hit their Veils, and then the Veils are going to put them up, you know, essentially like 2 cards.
Yeah, that's like basically negates 2 turns of what you've been doing.
And even if Alder doesn't have Veils in the opening hand, the Storm deck is enough of a Xerox deck that like it's going to happen. So something like Lily will actually be able to let you enact your plan and potentially win.
I'm wondering if Hex Mage works against Arya, and like, kind of, but I don't really think it's good enough. Because if like Arya is threatening death, you're probably like having a Hex Mage isn't gonna save you. Just resetting that.
Yeah, I mean that last game, if Michael had been able to hit the mana to cast Kroxa earlier, I think that, you know, it may have been a different thing. Kroxa is also similar to Liliana, just an engine card that also gets Alder dead. And my guess is Alder doesn't have a lot of answers for it. Maybe brought in a couple bounce spells, but we also didn't see any Leyline of the Void or anything out of Michael last game, and we didn't. As far as I saw, we didn't see Michael draw any either, so.
No, maybe you didn't bring him in, but you brought in Rakdos Charm to hedge. Everyone's got a keeper.
Yeah, a couple of quick keeps. Wait. Oh, right. Michael's playing Rakdos Rack. I was like, why is Michael not going first? Because Michael elected to draw.
So I think, you know, a lot of people do that with Rack, and I think it's this kind of like you feel cool when you let your opponent go first too, and sometimes it's the right decision to make, but I don't think it's 100% always the right decision to make, especially when there's like important cards you're trying to nab with hand disruption. I think actually being on the play can be pretty important.
Right. Michael could have gotten blown out really, really hard by this Veil of Summer if Alder had a fetch land here by choosing to be on the draw. In this case, I think... Ooh. Yeah, I think you just have to take the Veil.
I think you take Arya.
Yeah?
Well, there's no green.
Currently,
but then also, see, this is a reason why I like being on the play is, so, like the next thing Michael does can get remanded now, where if you're on the play, you could have gotten 2 or 3 spells down before your opponent could remand.
Right.
We did take the Arya.
Okay, we're gonna see if we can bait out the remand here with the Raven's Crime, it looks like.
I like it. That's
I do
definitely.
too. Yeah. It's a really good card to bait out this remand with, because it's very dangerous for Alder to yes. Yes. I like what Michael's doing here. So let's just take a quick look at Raven's Crime. Michael's just trying to really limit the amount of value that Alder can get from this remand.
It looks like we just have a Veil, a Gifts, and a Remand. Oh, we have a fetch land, so we can actually fetch and shock to be able to cast Veil.
And the remand is still up, which is certainly awkward for Michael here. If Michael's wanting to play something like a Liliana this turn, then Alder's patience with the remand may really pay off. So it looks like we're going to Raven's Crime, probably just run right into the Veil here.
That's like a 3-for-1.
Yep. Yeah, it's this is where we see the whole idea of kind of the Rax game plan of I'm going to 1-for-1 my opponent until we're both low on resources. We just see it really, really get blown out in these situations. Alder still has remand up too. And Michael's not going to be able to target Alder here.
Looks like we did bring in the Hex Mage. I don't like that very much.
I don't either.
It just seems like a very, very small speed bump to an Arya game that costs you a card.
Right. I agree. You're not even 1-for-1ing with the Arya, and once the Storm deck gets going with something like an Arya out, it's not removing the counters is not really going to stop that from being a valid win condition, I don't think. But Alder's board plan against the Rakdos Rack deck is pretty strong, so, you know, maybe Michael feeling like they're an underdog in the matchup, and
No, we discarded the gifts. I
sitting
think
on
we
it
got
looks
some
like
rituals.
and an empty maybe in hand
Yeah.
for Alder. Maybe thinking we'll do kind of a small empty.
Make 6 goblins.
Yeah. Okay, just 4 goblins. It's a clock. I mean, it's more of a clock than Michael has currently.
Hex Mage could be in the sideboard. The rack usually has a really hard time beating resolved planeswalkers, especially ones that
Yes.
say draw a card, like Jason Mind Sculptor, Teferi, Hero of Dominaria, etc. And Hex Mage is just a removal spell for planeswalkers.
Yep. They get 1 activation and then you can get them off the board.
And it can't be like Spell Pierced or something like, a Dreadbore could be, which is minor, but does a lot of times come up when you're playing against blue decks that they'll have like negate type effects.
And, you know, at its worst, it's still a 2-1 first strike, so sometimes mediocre beats can actually do something as well. Okay, Michael has the Plague Engineer, and of course names Goblin. And Alder has the Aria Flame.
Ooh.
So, we may see the Hex Mage do something here. We're going to have to see Michael's deck give us... Again, we're looking for that engine card. We're looking for the Liliana. We're looking for the Croxa. Something like that. Mediocre creature beats are going to be a tough way to get there. It's possible.
Well, 4 a turn isn't nothing. Looks like we just have a Brawl in hand for Alder and now an Electromancer, so...
Which are pretty bad. This is if you're on Alder's side, this is really not what you want to see. You need your Factor Fictions, you need your Gifts Ungiven, you need your pieces of the puzzle. Just any card that's going to get you up so that you can get out of range of this Shrieking Affliction, or at least start activating this Aria of Flame and cantripping into more spells.
So play out the Brawl because you have at least a block on the Hex Mage. So I bet we see Michael just send in the Plague Engineer here. Wow. I'm not sure I like sending in the Hex Mage unless
Yeah.
you really were doing the math and needed that 2 extra damage. I'm not sure
Yeah.
what's in hand.
Okay.
Oh, okay, we got Collective Brutality. Okay, that makes sense.
Interesting.
I take it back.
I wonder what Michael has in hand. I wonder if we could have seen that brutality used with
the Drain Gain.
yeah. I mean, we're really coming down to the wire here. I think Alder needed to take one more from that. I think. There we go. Michael's gonna Raven's Crime again. It's really nice to have the Raven's Crime in the yard with this Rakdos deck. It is a nice way to turn those lands into damage to the Shrieking Affliction.
Oh,
And
can we win this turn, Alder? Nope, we can't.
nope. And Michael did a really good job of managing. You saw Michael had a ton of lands in hand. We very easily could have kind of played out extra lands this game and ended up like flooded out on Michael's side without any damage to show for it. But Michael showed a lot of patience in just utilizing a lot of those lands to flashback Raven's Crime and ultimately managed to get there against Alder.